nonsense is they put names to these scams, and then they created an avenue to vent the money out to people like you and me. And once it's out, that's the reason they're fighting this, because once it's out, they can't reconstitute the money anymore because it's divided up amongst thousands of people. Now it's impossible for them to regain their power.
And there's how many, if you know, but how many different prosperity programs are there approximately, or how many different global settlements? I mean, CMKX is considered the biggest in history, but how many of these are there? Are there factual evidence? I mean, I know that I have the documentation, the court documentation for CMKX, but are there others out there that people can go and research and see, hey, here's another one, here's another one? I mean, we heard about Citibank paying off a massive global settlement here just, I think it was a couple weeks ago. So
yeah.
Are there others out there that people can actually say, hey, you know, this stuff is real?
Well, I know the stuff I research is real, and it probably isn't germane to everybody here, but the point of this is that they weren't designed to be found. They were designed as Ponzi schemes, and so the very paper they were written on was designed to vaporize. It was never designed to come out of the dark world and to see the light of day. And you had two factions within the CIA. You had the faction that understood what Casey was talking about, to undermine the nations that were threats monetarily, and then to recoup that money and put it back into the Treasury. And then you have the other side that decided to hijack that money and use it for all kinds of nefarious activities like propping up dictators and running drugs and laundering drug money and providing weapons to every despot in the world. And there's so many parts to this, so many spider holes. It's just hard to wrap your mind around it because it was so huge. If I told you that I saw wire transfers to the Pilgrim Fund, which is the slush fund for the Bushes, that were routinely $500 and $600 billion each, and I got dozens of the copies of these wire transfers, that's hard to wrap your mind around because you can't imagine how huge this is. So when you take all that money and you disperse it to the common person, that it cannot be reconstituted again, these people lose their power. That's what this is all about, because they hijacked an idea that was designed to bring global peace, and they use it for their self-enrichment. And so those are the two factions going on here. And the Chinese understand that, hey, you know what, we need to kick in and help this get done so that we will have world peace, that we can actually, you know, have a world without huge militaries that are always on edge and 18 minutes from destruction. You know, I mean, we have to think a different way. And we can't look at everybody on this planet as a threat. And so, you know, I think I told you before, Rodney, before I shipped overseas to Southeast Asia, they run you through POW camp, and you got 15 guys running a POW camp of 400 guys. And what they would do is they divide us up, black from white, Hispanic from Asian, officer from enlisted, blonde hair from brown hair. And then they give certain people privileges and certain people they torture. And they did this to show how they control a population by making one part of the population look privileged and the other part of the population to be trampled on. And then within our own prison population, we started fighting amongst each other, and that's how they controlled us. Well, that's what's happened to our entire society. We're divided up, conservative from liberal, Republican from Democrat, woman from man, black from white. I don't care. You can find more divisions in our society than you can count. But the fact of the matter is, everybody listening to my voice right now, if you cut your finger, I guarantee you all of us bleed red blood. And so that unification is what they never, ever want to bring up. But the Chinese understand that we are all one. And this is hard for Westerners to wrap their mind around. And as we're all one, we can regain power of our country. We can regain power of our world. And that's what this is all about, a transparency that keeps them from ever reconstituting their wealth again to do these things. But we have to get a new education. We have to see things as they are and not as we've been told they are.
Yeah, because I'm assuming they already have a game plan ready to go after this thing goes down.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And I guess that's where my concern is that, and even talking to my father about this, I'm like, why did I get myself into this? God, what's your plan here? But it just comes down to even Terry and I, and buddy Steve, when we created this website with all these Dinar people, basically listening to us, it was like making certain that we don't create the same mistakes over and over again. And I guess that's my concern here. And even as many people have called me crazy for having this call with you to other calls, and it's blasphemy, it's any number of different things, you're out of your mind. I don't think so. I really, again, you can't make stuff up like this. If you start to take your emotions out of it and you start looking at it objectively and analyzing it and so forth, you're going to see it. It's just like my father had me read this book one time. It was called Illusions. Of course, I've read it a couple different times, but it was amazing. In this, it's like taking yourself out of the equation, sitting back in the audience and looking and really seeing what's going on, which means taking the emotion out of it. You can really see things for what they truly are, but it's hard for us to do that. I mean, everything that I see going on just here in the United States, it's all emotion-driven. Like you said, I mean, you made the perfect, it's like they don't make if you watch television, whether it's a film or anything nowadays, they don't have any segment cut more than, I think it's 7 or 9 seconds. And why is that? Because our attention span, can't hang that long,
That's
like
right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So forth.
Yeah.
But
that's right.
Anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be an education, but we're all in this together. But the biggest thing I want to impart is that things are not as they appear to have been, and there's evidence all around you if you just look. And
right.
If you doubt this, go outside and look at the heavens. The universe is infinitely abundant, but to have shortages and to have not enough money, not enough food, not enough water, those are created by man. We live in a universe that's infinitely abundant, and yet we have shortages of everything: medical attention, food, money. That's because it's all about controlling people. Our natural state is abundance. And you have to get beyond seeing the way the world has been for the last 200 years and understand how it had always been before this all started. We live in an infinitely abundant universe, and we deny that truth every day when we buy into these charades of wars and famine and economic downturns and depression. And this is all through the robber barons down through history controlling the workers of this world, controlling the middle class, controlling the population en masse. And until you understand that, until you come to grips with that truth, that's not an opinion, that's the truth. You can look at and see the abundance of the universe right now. Go outside and look up at the heavens. There are more stars up there than you can count. And if you take a head of a pin and hold it up to the sky, behind that head of that pin are at least 4 or 5 other galaxies with millions of stars in them. You just can't see them. Now that's how abundant our universe is, and yet we live on this little blue marble, and we have shortages after shortages that we create. And we just can't see that that's being done by men to manipulate other men. That's the truth that's in front of us, and yet we deny it every day.
Yeah. Well, sir, I can't thank you enough for coming out to this call. I know that you put your neck on the line just as much as, well, probably more than I put my neck on the line with this whole thing. And I think a lot of people will appreciate, maybe not now, but maybe in the future, some of the things that they've heard tonight. And so I hope everybody, again, doesn't, keeps an open mind and learns from at least something tonight, you know. So I guess at the end of this call, guys, you have a choice. You can take the red pill or the blue pill. I appreciated Contact 2, and I look forward to talking to you down the road. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you listening into this call. Again, I know it was very difficult for most to swallow. This call has been recorded, and it will be out there, so feel free to listen to it again and again, and maybe something will ring true for you. On that note, Terry, I thank you. I thank the GET team. I appreciate everybody helping out with this, and God bless, and have a good night.